Welcome to the Criminal Imagination. This series, Crime and Civilization How Crime Fiction Reflects the Rise and Crisis of the Modern State, begins with a simple question. What if the true purpose of law is not justice but control? Across centuries, crime fiction has recorded the political fears of its age, from cursed kings and cunning thieves to corrupt judges and silent witnesses. Each episode investigates how power operates through narrative, what it hides, who it condemns, and what happens when the system turns inwards and begins to devour itself. Today, we discuss Hamlet and the Spectre of Justice, crime, regicide, and political haunting. Here is a question for you. What if the law itself is built on a murder? What if power sustains itself not through legitimacy but through forgetting? In this episode of Crime and Civilization, we examine Hamlet not merely as a revenge tragedy, but as a political meditation on crime, sovereignty, and deferred justice. We will frame this analysis through Jacques Derrida's theory on hauntology, a conceptual lens that reveals how political orders remain haunted by the very exclusions and violences they repress. Justice, as Derrida writes, must remain ungraspable. In Hamlet, it is also unachievable. Unlike conventional crime fiction, where a murder ruptures order, in Hamlet the murder precedes the narrative. The play opens in medias res, not with a crime to solve, but with a crime that has already been silenced by ceremony and power. The ghost of King Hamlet emerges not simply as a revenant, but as an ethical rupture, an ontological scandal within the sovereign structure of Denmark. The court functions, the crown is worn, rituals continue, but all of it is predicated on what Derrida might call a spectral illegitimacy, a crime buried rather than confronted. Hamlet thus stages the political condition Derrida diagnoses in Spectres of Marx, a regime haunted by what it has refused to reckon with. The spectre, writes Derrida, is a figure of justice, not yet present but no longer absent. The ghost is not a remnant, it is a demand. Derrida's neologism, hauntology, a portmanteau of haunting and ontology, names a state in which presence and absence collapse. Hauntology articulates how past injustices continue to shape the present, not as events but as structures. King Hamlet's ghost embodies this logic. He is not simply a dead father, he is unacknowledged historical violence, denied public narration. The regicide he reveals was not followed by revolution or reckoning, but by reintegration, erasure, re-legitimization. Claudius' ascension is legal but not just. This tension between legal form and ethical debt creates a hauntological condition. The state operates under the illusion of order, even as its foundation is rotten. As Derrida insists, the ghost is not bound by time, it disrupts the linear order of presence and absence. It interrupts the present with what it has tried to forget. Hamlet's delay is often read as psychological hesitation, but Derrida invites us to read it politically and epistemologically. Hamlet does not delay because he doubts the ghost. He delays because the very concept of justice is destabilized. To avenge his father is to kill the sovereign. To obey the ghost is to break the law. To remain silent is to accept the crime. This is what Derrida calls aporia, an impasse where every option is ethically compromised. In a hauntological world, there is no pure action, no untainted path forward. Hamlet's paralysis is thus the symptom of a system where legal structures have lost moral legitimacy. Can one speak of justice, Derrida asks, outside the possibility of deconstruction? Hamlet cannot act without unraveling the very world he seeks to restore. For Derrida, justice is not something that can be codified or delivered. Justice, unlike law, is always a veneer to come. It hovers on the horizon, ever promised, never present. The ghost, then, is a figure of this futurity. He demands a justice that cannot be resolved by the state because the state itself is complicit. Justice is the ghost of the future, Derrida writes. And so Hamlet lives in a suspended time between a past that has not been mourned and a future that cannot begin. His tragedy is not simply familial, it is temporal. He is caught in a broken chronology, one where history cannot progress because its crime remain unreckoned. Why treat Hamlet as a crime fiction then? Because it exposes crime not as deviance but as structure. The murder of King Hamlet is not an anomaly. It is the silent engine beneath the Danish state. Like the foundational violences of colonialization, slavery, or political coups, the regicide in Hamlet becomes the pre-legal act through which a new law emerges. This is the thesis of crime and civilization. Crime is not the breakdown of civilization, it is its architecture. In Hamlet, the court does not seek truth, it seeks silence. The ghost threatens that silence. By the play's end, the sovereign order has imploded. The monarchy has consumed itself. Hamlet is dead, Claudius is dead, Gertrude and Laertes are dead. The court has collapsed not through rebellion but through its own interior contradictions. No trial is held, no judgment is passed. Fortinbras arrives not as a savior but as a replacement. This is the Derridian movement. The institution cannot purify itself, it must be replaced. But even that replacement inherits the ghost. There is no clean break, Derrida insists. The ghost does not die. The throne is empty but not sanctified. In Spectres of Marx, Derrida warned that liberal democracies would be haunted by the unfulfilled promises of justice, by the ruins of revolutions, by the crimes they rebranded as progress. Hamlet enacts this prophecy. Its ghost is not a nostalgia, it is a demand, a call from the margins of history, reminding us that justice cannot be procedural alone. It must also be ethical. It must confront its origin. When Claudius confesses, it is in private. When Hamlet acts, it is too late. There is no public reckoning, just death. The haunting continues beyond Elsinore. The modern world too has its ghost. Colonial violence, racial injustice, patriarchal sovereignty, systems built on crime that continue to function through decorum. Derrida teaches us that justice does not emerge from silence. It emerges from mourning, from acknowledgement, from interruption. Hamlet's ghost does not bring peace, but he brings knowledge, knowledge that costs everything. And we, the spectators, are left with the Derridian question: what does it mean to inherit without choice, to inherit a broken world, to inherit perhaps a ghost? Hamlet is not a tragedy of indecision. It is a philosophical diagnosis of a world where justice has no language, no home, no future. It is the story of a prince who knows the truth, but finds that truth has no place in the structures of law and power. And so he dies, as do all those around him. But the ghost remains. Because the ghost is not simply a character. The ghost is the memory of justice, unclaimed, unburied, and still waiting. Where literature is not escape, but interrogation. And here is a question for you. If the state begins in blood, what ghost will still live in its hall? Is Hamlet a story of personal vengeance or a meditation on a political system haunted by its crimes? Tell us in the comments. We read everyone. Until next time, remember, the ghost always returns.